Parenting is the hardest job, and there is not a close second. Raising high-performing teen athletes or performers? That's a high-stakes job. I'm Nate Crandall, joined by fellow certified high-performance coach Steve Galley. We coach ambitious parents like you, and also your high-performing teens, because when you both level up, connection and results don't just improve, they multiply. Welcome to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. We have some burning questions for you. What are the specialization myths that are putting your teen at risk?
I was terrible at mythology. Greek, Roman.
I love mythology.
I thought the stories were cool.
Stories are very cool. That's what I love about it.
I just wanted to play basketball outside more than I wanted to remember the Roman equivalent to
Well, you
whoever.
fell for the specialization myths then. If all you do is play sports, you'll be fine. That's all we need to
Speaking
do.
of specialization and the myths, if you're tuning in, this is episode 126. This is number 2 in a series that we're doing on youth sport specialization. And when we say youth, we're talking from the youngest ages, those kindergarten competition teams. Well, maybe second or third or fourth grade competition teams, all the way up through high school.
Yep. Well, this is a great episode because we're going to get into some of these myths, and we might reference research. We'll be posting some of this research in the show notes and other things like that. So if you want to get more into that, you are more than welcome to do that. And we just don't want to bore you with all the specifics during the episode, trying to keep it tight like we always do.
I like that. So we're going to go over 3 big myths that we think drives bad decisions.
Yep. And there's way more than 3. We're just picking these 3 because we've got tons of experience in this area. And just from what we see from our experience, we felt like these were ones that really stood out as ones that grab people.
Right. We're also going to give you a risk dashboard. So some rules.
All about the tools, baby.
Yes, some tools to help you become more self-aware and reflective about what's happening with your teens, with your youth.
I
with
know
your little
you love
sportsters, your athletes and performers.
I know you love buzzword bingo, Steve.
Yeah.
So guess what we're going to do today? We're going to say out loud what most clubs won't. Isn't that a buzzword right now? We're going to say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. Tell me you're going to talk about specialization without telling me you're talking about specialization.
Yes. And we're going to say the quiet part out loud.
Right.
Some of the advice you get.
We'll also be circling back to some stuff that we did in the previous episode.
Of course.
So, yes.
Well, here's the quiet part that they don't want to say out loud. Some of the popular advice about specializing, flat out dangerous. Dangerous. And these myths will trap you. And expose your kid to unnecessary danger.
Yeah. So in the previous episode, we talked about focus versus exclusive grind.
Yes.
So if you haven't, in fact, you should go listen to that episode if you haven't listened to this one. But we're going to go through these 3 myths and then counter it with some better facts.
Yep. You ready to roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I do the first one?
Yeah, do it.
If we don't specialize now, we'll miss the boat. And this is where we're circling back. In fact, we're just using one oar. It would be the left oar, and we're circling the boat, the canoe back around. So this is the fact. And if you have insomnia and you want to look at the studies that we post in the show notes, you can do this. Early specialization is associated with higher overuse, injury, and burnout, while multi-sport participation through mid-teens is linked to better long-term health and sustained participation.
Variety is the spice of life. And it's also your weapon against overuse, injuries, and burnout.
Why is that? Without getting so nerdy.
Why does it cause the injury and the burnout?
Yeah.
It's your summer squash thing. We like it when we do it over and over and over again, and then we get sick of it. The injury part is that we're putting the same kind of stress on the same joints over and over and over again. There's so many stories like, and it's compelling. The evidence is compelling that when we do the same thing over and over again, we cause problems. Look at the rise in Achilles injuries in the NBA, and Jason Tatum out with an Achilles.
There's a
Tyrese
few of them that
Halliburton.
are out. Yeah, I thought there was a third one too.
I mean, you had
Yeah,
Kobe go
it's
down. I think Damian Lillard went down with an Achilles injury. Like you
Kevin
see it
Durant was his.
so much more
Yeah.
common now. And a lot of it can come from just the repetitive use injuries, putting the same joints under the same kind of pressure over a long period of time can really create that. Whereas the multi-sport approach, you get using different muscles in slightly different ways. I know just from running a ton, like if I don't force myself to weight train and to do some different things, my accessory muscles are the ones that break down.
Mm.
And I have to do other things to try to grow those accessory muscles to handle the load that's put on more of the main muscles. But you see high-level athletes sample multiple sports till they're 14, 16, or even beyond.
Yeah, you know what I like? Sometimes when you'll see a human interest story about a pro athlete, for example, take a pro football player, a quarterback, and then they will show during the broadcast, they'll show old video or pictures of them playing another sport.
Yeah.
And it's almost a little bit weird because you think, oh, well, you know him as so-and-so the quarterback, and yet he was an 11-year-old baseball player, and
Yeah.
he was a 12-year-old swimmer or whatever it is. And I always think it's cool to see those. So speaking of the young kids, how do parents mistake early success for what they consider to be long-term trajectory?
Pump
For
the
example,
brakes.
the kid that is just the kids that he scores a touchdown on every play.
Yeah.
When he's 8 years old.
Nobody can stop him on the basketball court when he's 8 years old because
Yeah.
he's huge.
So how can you mistake that for long-term trajectory?
And I know it's going to sound callous, but pump the brakes. Take it for what it's worth. One of our favorite sports psychologists uses the phrase, the past doesn't predict the future. The past, and that's what you have to remember in this. Early success is awesome. It's so fun to see our kid be successful. They get confidence out of it, and it's easy to get sucked into the, oh my gosh, they're really good now. How good could they be if they keep going? And so we put all our chips in on that because of early success. And having something that helps you pump the brakes. What are some other things that you could try? Checking in with the kid frequently and seeing what else they want to try, encouraging them to do some different things. And that helps a lot. Just the past doesn't predict the future. Enjoy it. Doesn't mean you can't have fun and really enjoy it, but be very careful about making that their identity. That's a big slip up that a lot of parents get when your kid has early success. They're phenomenal as a 9th grade basketball player. They're really, really good. And so we're like, oh my gosh, they're great at basketball. So that's who they become. And it makes long-term success a little less likely.
Well, it's almost like being really excited about a lead in the first quarter.
Yes.
And then that fourth quarter's the score is different. I know I saw parents who would say things that, and this was when I was coaching in high school, you would hear this phrase, well, he was the best player, and they go back years.
Yes.
Well, he was the best player then, and that's always a really subjective analysis because they may be correct, they may be completely incorrect in that judgment.
Well, sample size has a lot to do with that too.
Sample size has a huge amount to do with that. But I always thought it was sad when they would talk about this player who was the best in 7th grade and now was not the best in 7th grade, 12th grade in a varsity sport. And it was almost like they were disappointed in the person.
And how do you think that the kids are great at picking up on that? How does your kid feel if that's what they're getting?
Yeah. There's so many variables involved, so many other things that factor into. Yeah, so early success does not just automatically translate to a
Maintain
long-term.
proper perspective. Past
Yeah.
doesn't predict the future. See the big picture.
Yeah. Okay, myth number 2, Nate.
Ooh, myth number 2. This one's kind of sneaky because you hear some facts on the other side, but this still seems to persist. College coaches only want specialists. College coaches only want the kids who've played one sport their entire life. Now, here's where I think this comes from. I don't think if you sat down 50 college coaches, I don't think any of them, maybe one or two, would say that they want a kid that's played the same sport their entire life. However, when it comes to handing out your NIL money, your scholarship money, and the other money, often the kids that get it are the ones that have played one sport their entire life. So it's not the college coaches actually saying it, but it's the image that's perceived that to get to that level, you have to specialize. And that's why this one's super dangerous.
It is super dangerous. And I can tell you, of all the college coaches that I've ever interacted with who have recruited in the schools I've coached at, recruited any of my players, or the ones that I know have recruited players in other sports, I have never, ever heard this. Not only have I never heard that, but I've heard them actually speak from their own mouths the exact opposite.
Yeah.
In fact, this was a common thing that I would see, Nate, and I always thought this was cool when in the years when I was coaching football, and so I was actively aware of players that were being recruited to play football. It was a really common thing, and I would imagine it hasn't changed, but it was a really common thing for college coaches to come and watch that kid play basketball if he was a two-sporter. If he was playing football and basketball, because they and obviously I'm biased towards basketball as far as it's showing your athleticism, but they love to come watch this kid play basketball because they got to see him without a helmet. They got to see how he behaved. They got to see his footwork. You really get to see some things up close.
Yeah.
And college coaches want kids that have sampled, want kids that have played other sports. For sure.
Here's what college coaches really want: healthy, coachable, durable athletes. Like their job's on the line. They don't want to be going all in on somebody that might break down because of, overuse injuries or burnout and face some of those challenges. So college coaches really want. I've coached with a guy, one of his favorite phrases is the best ability is availability. And I think that's super true in this situation. College coaches just want guys that are going to be healthy, coachable, and durable. And when you vary some of the things that your body does, you reinforce the health, you reinforce the durability, and learning to adapt to different coaches improves your coachability.
That's something I know it's true, but I don't think it's often thought of. It's good to play for different coaches and to play on different teams.
Yes, that doesn't get talked about enough. So much of sports is social, and we haven't talked a lot about the social side of specialization. And I think that's part of one of the traps we'll fall into. We'll probably discuss that again later. But the social part in this case is learning to adapt to different coaches, learning to interact on a high level with multiple guys. Like a football staff has how many coaches? 20? A college football staff probably has 20 different. You got to interact with your position coach. You got to interact with a coordinator. You got to interact with a head coach, at least 3 that you're going to have some pretty direct interactions with. And as a athlete,
and then all the peripheral coaches that where you're going to have more interaction.
Right. And then all the other handlers and people hanging around that think they're coaches that you have to interact with. And like, you got to be really socially versatile to be a high level performer and athlete.
Right. And I think it's good to play on these different teams. I would even say something that might be shocking to people. I think it's good for you to be on a bad team at some point. Think a varied experience. Yeah, I think a varied experience in your youth is really good. And sometimes as parents, we want to protect, and you see this in the youth sports craziness that I have a friend that has boys in baseball, and he just kind of raises his eyebrows and shakes his head when he says, you'll have kids that are on 5 different teams in 5 different years. They just constantly are jumping because they
don't
want
win
to be,
enough.
yeah.
We want to be on the best team. We want to be on the elite team.
Yeah, I think their priorities are a bit out of order there.
I'm going to add another myth buster to this with the idea that college coaches only want specialists. I think another reason that makes multi-sport players or people that have played different sports attractive to college coaches is your role won't be the same on every team. You might be the dude when it comes to playing basketball, but maybe you're a guy that comes off the bench and just pinch runs on baseball, or you're a special teams guy on football. And so having the experience in different roles makes you more healthy, coachable, and durable as well, mentally.
I'm sold. I think we punched that myth right in the teeth.
So.
Yeah.
Kicked it right in. Let's go for number 3.
Number 3, more hours equals more success. This is for all of you grinders out there. When I hear the word grind, my teeth grind.
I'm going to tell you what I blame for this. All the work and research that was done not too long ago, I blame Malcolm Gladwell and the 10,000 hour rule. And
I've read the book.
It's phenomenal. Like there's so much good stuff and good research in there, but the message that unfortunately got to the bottom of the row was, well, all you need to do is put in your 10,000 hours and then you'll be great. And so we're going to start our kids earlier doing more focused reps of the same thing over and over again because we're trying to get to that 10,000 hours so they can be successful.
I love it. You started a new buzz phrase too.
You did? Which one?
Yeah, you said bottom of the row. I think you meant to say end of the row, but I'm going to start. I'm going to start saying bottom of the row. I'm going to see if we can get some people to do it. Hey, end of the row, bottom of the row, 6, 7, hey, 6, 7.
I can't believe you pulled those numbers out.
Sorry. I can't believe I did that either. But no, I think I'm glad you brought that up because there have been numerous writers and people that they've been taking the pitchfork to Malcolm and the 10,000 hour thing.
Yeah. And it should be, this is why we always have to be cautious with some of these things that come up, because the inadvertent damage has pushed towards specialization. Now I've got to do all these things earlier in life. The block time principle that you and I use to help with our productivity is huge. 50 minutes of focused work goes a long, long way. Cal Newport's work on deep work and doing these things for a focused period of time. And it doesn't have to be more hours. It has to be the smarter use of whatever block of time you have. 30 minutes of concentrated effort goes so far. It doesn't have to be an insane number of reps and hours.
Right.
What's the quality of the reps? What's the quality of the hours that you're putting in?
I think everyone would agree that risk climbs up when your organized sports hours are at a crazy level. So let's actually define this a little bit for the parents. So I'm going to talk about the hours.
Okay.
And then I know we've got a couple of what we call risk dashboard rules for the parents. So if your weekly organized sport hours exceeds the athlete's age, this is a red flag. So the organized sport hours, okay, if it exceeds the athlete's age. The second red flag would be the organized sport hours are more than about 2 times their free play time.
Oh,
now this hits me in the heart because I was one that had tons of free play, probably would have wanted more organized play. If I was living now, I loved playing so much, I probably would have been sucked into the vortex and would have been begging my parents to put me in these things. But I can see how this is true. I can see how kids are at so many practices and they're playing too many games and they're going over doubling their free play time.
Yeah, this one may end up being a series all by itself because I get fired up about this one.
Cranky Crandall?
Cranky Crandall a little bit. Kids need unstructured time. And it doesn't mean go full free range and just let your kids do whatever the heck they want. But we as adults have flipped so far to the end of we've got to structure every minute of their day. Everything has to be organized. The parents have to run everything, control everything, do everything. Kids lose so much when we take away their free play time. And like you said it, when you were younger, when I was younger, free play time used to happen so much more. And now everything's organized. Everything's run by adults. And kids lose a lot of autonomy when that happens. And autonomy is critical for their development. They call it, this is nerdy research if you want to, we could include this in there. It's about locus of control, an external versus an internal locus of control. And if these kids grow up in an environment where the locus of control is always external, they have no idea how to control and run their own life. Yeah, I could go on for a long time about that. Sorry. Thank you for letting me ramble a little bit. But that organized sport, it should not swamp their unstructured time. Kids need downtime.
Right. Simple rule to follow. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you have a 13-year-old and they're doing 18 hours of organized sport a week, which actually is happening.
Oh boy.
It's a big fat warning light going off on the dashboard. You need to check it out, not just put some tape over it.
Yeah, looking at those two ratios is good. The hours rule, and then that free play or unstructured time. Those are good lights to have on your dashboard. Just be aware of.
Right. So speaking of the dashboard, what are some warning signs for parents, Nate? Some other warning signs?
Big one for me is a change in mood. You know, reading your kid's mood. Have they stopped looking forward to going to practice? Is practice a pain in the rear end for them? Can I tangent just a hair on this one? I've worked with a lot of different coaches in my life. You are not one of these guys, and I respect that. And you were one of the guys I learned how to do it right from. But I've worked with a few coaches who run 3 to 4 hour practices on the daily.
It's insane.
And this is deep in the season too. I'm not talking like the first week. Sometimes you got a ton of stuff to get in. You might have one practice
longer
that gets
at the beginning
to 3
of
hours.
the season. Yeah, for sure.
But deep in the season, we're hitting 3 to 4 hours on practice. Yeah, if your kid has a change in mood or is dreading going to practice, you may want to look at that. And that may be a conversation you need to have with your athlete's coach. Sorry, a bit tangential there, but that's a key warning sign. Are they dreading going to practice? Are they getting irritable? Is it interrupting their sleep?
What else?
The injury one. You know, the repeated use, if your kid's a pitcher and they're starting to complain of, shoulder pain, elbow pain, that could be overuse and that might need to get rested. Drop in their engagement in other activities. They're so desperate for downtime or time away that they lose interest in other things that used to be interesting to them. Confidence issues might pop up and you might be able to hear those in the language they use. Oh man, I'm not as good as I thought I was, or I'm not good at this anymore. Or if I'm not good at this, then I'm worthless. Yeah. It can show up in a lot of different phrases, but those are some key warning signs to watch out for in your kids.
I like it. Hopefully this has been helpful to you parents. So I want to bring up the king, Nate. I think I know who you're talking about, but this isn't a one size fits all, and decisions are going to be unique within families and for each child, for each athlete. But we're all about making really good, pro-informed decisions.
Yeah.
So what is the king that the parents need as they start wrestling with all of these questions and these decisions around focus versus exclusive grind? Who is the king?
It's the high performing quality of clarity. Each family, each child within the family, you as parents, you want to be very, very clear about why they're doing what they're doing. What's the point and purpose of doing this activity. And if you can keep that clarity, that focus generates better decisions, and it allows for a higher level of commitment. Because we're not you and I both coached high school sports, high school basketball. We love committed athletes. Committed athletes are great. But an athlete that knows why they're doing what they're doing is able to commit at a higher level. And you get more out of them when they understand why, the why behind it. And sometimes this is what gets lost as parents, is we get away from what our kids' why is. I know why I'm having them do it, but do I know why they want to do it? And so being clear about why your kids, why you together, what role does that play within your family? Clarity is king.
Beautiful. Parents, if you like what you are hearing, well, maybe you don't like what you're hearing, but you know you need to hear it. Please subscribe to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel. It's on YouTube. We're also on Apple. We're also on Spotify. And please share this with share it with the parents of your club team. Share it with the parents of your kids' school team. Share it with anybody, actually.
For the sake of your kids, share this with everybody. Everybody needs to have this conversation with their kids, for their kids, to make sure they're staying healthy in all ways.
And everybody knows somebody, neighbor, friend,
Absolutely.
nephew, niece, grandson, granddaughter that is involved in athletics and performance activities. Nate, next, speaking of clarity, in the third episode, 127 of this series on specialization, we're going to help parents actually figure out what their teens' real strengths are.
I'm so excited for this episode. I can't tell you.
Some ideas on how to design a sane year around these strengths.
Yes.
And so I am excited for that. I'm also excited to wrap this up. We definitely went longer than we wanted to. We hope that it's been good. But Nate, you have a couple of invitations for the parents.
I do. Take a quick look at your kids' hours from last week, how many were organized sport versus free play, and then share that snapshot with your teen and ask, how do you feel about it? Is this sustainable for you?
Nate Crandall and Steve Galley would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're experiencing and learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, please like, comment, and or leave a glowing review of this episode and the show. And to further help Nate and Steve expand their reach and impact thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please share the show and subscribe to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel on YouTube. And if you want to explore further to see what Nate and Steve are creating to help parents of athletes and performers everywhere, please visit their website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you will find a growing number of tools and resources to help you elevate your parenting. Thanks again for tuning in. Now go create a magical relationship with your athlete or performer.